The first time I ever quit drinking was 10 years ago in 2016. I think about a month into my sobriety, I thought I had it all figured out. I couldn't believe that I was so happy in my life without alcohol. It felt like I conquered this massive mountain that had been so present in my life for all these years. At the time of recording this, I'm over 250 days without a drink. In 10 years, there's only been 3 times that I have successfully made it over 3 months without a drink. This is the longest I've ever gone, and I still can't believe how good I feel about it. I just feel like I'm more myself than I've ever been. I don't think I could have done this 10 years ago. I had to learn every time I went back to drinking what I was missing or how I could fall into using it as a crutch again. It's taken all these years to build enough skills and know enough about myself to be in this place right now. I also know enough not to think I have it all figured out. It's just so rare that I feel so safe in my own body, as I do now, that I'm just going to be as present as possible to enjoy this time. In this episode, I chat with my friend Enzo, and we discuss our journeys with addiction and how we were able to figure out what works for our own individual lives. This is Mask Off for Mask, and I'm Vance. Hey, Enzo.
Hey,
How's it going?
Vance. Good. How are you?
Good. We were just talking about your name and what you do. So where does the name Enzo come from? What do you do? If you want to just give a quick intro for yourself.
It's gonna get me in trouble, Enzo. If this ever comes, I'm so sorry.
Mm.
So I started doing some companionship services back in 2023. Where I wasn't showing my face, and I kind of had a friend who was in the same service telling me like, oh, if you're Italian, you have to go put that in the forefront and make your brand more Italian focused. And I had a friend growing up that I really loved his name that I'd lost touch with over the years, whose name was Enzo Falcone, and I took his name.
Oh yeah, even the last name too.
It's such a beautiful name.
It is a really beautiful name.
Enzo, I tried finding you online. I tried finding you everywhere because when I started showing my face, I was like, oh shit, this is becoming a lot more public than I thought. But I was already Enzo at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from something being more discreet because I was kind of testing the waters, wasn't sure what I was going to do. And so wasn't showing my face. And then it turned into no, I'm all in now, but I'm also all in as Enzo. And I asked around and there was nothing that sounded better than Enzo Falcone. So
Yeah.
that's what and then what I do now is, so I offer male companionship services. I offer really good massages with special endings. And even though I am not certified, I am self-taught and I give really fucking good massages. Like to the point that I converted a room at my place into a full studio, like a massage studio. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do corn. Do I have to use the word corn with a
No,
C
you
here?
can say no. You can say whatever you want.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I do porn.
Yeah.
And more recently, I'm starting up a collab studio, an adult entertainment collab studio. So I'm going to be a little bit more in the background of things, but also directing. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I mean, that's how we met. Is we shot a scene together in November. So
Yeah, exactly.
and it was fun. And if you guys want to check that out, I'm sure you can find it somewhere on our links.
Yeah, I don't know, link in bio or something, or comment and we'll send you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but it's comment video and you'll get the link and we could automate those things. I don't know how to do that, but anyway, comment video and we'll send you the link.
It's funny because I know all those, if I watch a YouTuber and stuff, they do that stuff and I know that it all works together, but I'm so lazy to kind of, to be doing extra work. I'm just link in bio.
Yeah. Also.
But yeah, so I do want to come back to all the sex work stuff. But the reason why I wanted to chat with you today was because, I mean, I obviously talk a lot about my addiction stuff, but we were talking that you are coming up on your 1-year anniversary of sobriety, right?
5 days. In 5 days,
In
it'll
5
be 1
days?
year.
Oh my God.
February 20th. I mean, it's 5 days from time of filming.
Yeah. but February 20th. So it's awesome. So I wanted to kind of talk about like that journey with just sobriety, drugs, alcohol, all of it. Cause I think we were talking too the other day that like I mean, at the end of this month, I'll be 6 months without alcohol and I'm not sober, but that's the first time I've ever done this. But also realizing for myself that, 10 years ago was the first time I ever got sober for more than like 2 weeks. And I ended up making it like 100 days or something. But yeah, at that time I remember thinking like, oh, I'm sober and I'm great and everything's good and I think I got it figured out. And just thinking back on 10 years, it's like, and I know now even in this moment, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not having any expectations. I'm just like, I'm good now and I'm doing good now. And that's all that matters. So I wanted to talk to you about like your experience and like how you feel about coming up on 1 year sobriety, looking back at all the times that maybe you've tried with it or what your journey's been like with that.
Oof. Okay, so I can talk a lot about this subject of my own history. The coming up to 1 year clean was 8 years in the making. Like it's been 8 years since I first discovered recovery, or another way of looking at it is it's been 8 years since I first realized that I was an addict with a problem. And it took 8 years to fucking make it here. So when I say that I am proud that you have just this
Hmm.
entire, like for the past few weeks, especially, like, um, I've just been like feeling so grateful that I've finally been able to get here. Right.
Hmm.
My story with drugs and alcohol, I think, is very similar to a lot of people in their 20s, where for a very long time, it was a very casual, recreational, social thing. I never drank alone. I never did drugs alone. But so much of my life was centered around drugs and alcohol, in that, like, I had amazing friends. I had a great life in my 20s and I did a lot of things. Like, I went on trips and, I was successful at work, but
Can
everything
I,
had,
so can I
oh, go
ask you,
ahead.
were you out in your 20s?
Yeah. So I came out at 18.
Okay.
I came out at 18. Life was hell for 2 years, still living at my parents' house. And then I moved out at 20, where that was like truly like my first real like taste of freedom, because I'd moved out of my parents' house and into an apartment with my boyfriend at the time, uh, where, you know, uh, I got to finally be me.
Did you ever drink before you left your parents' house? Before 20?
Yeah, I did. I was a good kid though. I mean, I think I first touched alcohol when I was like 17. I first started going clubbing when I was 18. Like, I really didn't do, like, I didn't have this story of like, I didn't start doing drugs and alcohol when I was 13. Like,
Yeah.
I was an honor student graduate, both at, in high school in CEGEP, which is like a pre-university for the non-Quebecers here. It was always like, in a social setting, go out with friends. And then I had like a whole bunch of new gay friends in my 20s, or from 18 on, right? There was a lot of drinking, but I was still very responsible. I never had an issue. The drugs and alcohol never derailed my life. It was just a really fun part of it.
Yeah. So when did it change? Like when did it actually start to become an issue? Like, or what would change in your life or what was
So
going
my
on then?
last my last relationship, of my 20, the last relationship I've had, which was from 2010 to 2014, right? It was a 4 year relationship. I thought I'd met the love of my life, and unfortunately, it was a really unhealthy relationship to begin with. It's a relationship that never should have happened. But when I say it shouldn't have happened, it's that, very quickly into this relationship, my partner had realized that maybe I didn't have what he was looking for. And I knew that, like, it wasn't compatible, but I was so in love. I thought I'd met the love of my life. And so, like, I held on. And for 4 years, I tried to make this relationship work.
And you're saying, sorry, do you mind if I ask about this relationship? Do you so you say that he didn't want to be in the relationship from very early
No,
on and was like,
he did. So when, um, I grew up with, uh, I grew up with like a very I did not grow up in a fun childhood, right? I grew up with parents who had a very dysfunctional kind of relationship, and so did he. So I think when you get into a relationship, you're idea, your baseline of what a normal relationship is, if you're used to having a relationship where people just kind of tolerate each other and don't really have that much in common and do stuff on the side, like that's normal for you. And that is what you'll try to like, recreate in your own relationship. So I got into a relationship being extremely manipulative and always trying to be right and never trying to take accountability for things. And he got into a relationship knowing that on the companionship side, I was his guy. But when it came to the more romantic or sexual side, we were not compatible. Right. And so the biggest mistake I made was staying in that relationship. Like, whereas I should have left a lot sooner and said, hey, this is not going to work for me. Like, I took all of the issues that he had and I made them my own and then I believed them. So I left that relationship really feeling I could not make someone happy. Like I left that relationship feeling like I was not enough of a person to make someone happy.
Hmm.
And I moved out of his place and I moved into an apartment like really quickly. First time living alone. And from there, I had I was on this mission because if I was not going to be enough for him, I was going to be enough for everyone else. And I kind of went on this rampage where I worked. I was going to the gym twice a week. I got myself in killer shape and I was going out every weekend. But if I was finishing my night alone, my night was not over. And this thing
Meaning
of
like alone without a hookup?
yeah, yeah. Whether it was like during the week, weeknights, like it was either I was finishing my night ordering like a bunch of pizza and binge eating or like sex. It was one of those two
Hmm.
almost every night continuously. And I went to a lot of after party or after hours, like raves, like stereo and stuff. And then all of that kind of made it so that when I was high, coming home at like 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then going on Grinder and just trying to find someone to hook up with, I'd be like, oh, by the way, I'm high. And whoever else, was on the other side, would be like, oh, me too. But we didn't specify on what. And so that kind of introduced me to crystal meth because up until that point, I did a whole bunch of other drugs, but they were more like the socially acceptable ones and ones that were more specific to different settings. Like I wouldn't do coke at home, but I would do it at a bar or with friends, right? Crystal meth very quickly degenerated and turned into I'm horny, therefore I want crystal meth, and not, it became really ingrained in different habits. And that's what started from 2014 till 2018, uh, just a downward slope, downward spiral.
Yeah. And would you say then in like 2014 when all that stuff was happening, were you like aware that you were just lonely or feeling like those feelings?
I knew that I wasn't well enough to be in a relationship, like, because I had tons of guys be like, "Oh, like I'd love to date you and everything," and I was like, "No, like I'm not in a place I want to date." Then when I wanted to go on dates, I would often kind of self sabotage because I'd go on a date with a guy that I thought was really really cool, but then I get high and like meth for me. I'm gone. Like I disappear for the entire weekend because when I'm high on meth, I do not want to live in the real world. I want to live in the world where everyone is high. So I would ignore my phone, my messages. I would have friends being like, "Mike, like what happened to you?" Is I would just disappear, and then I'd be like, I have to lie and this and that. It's just a whole song and dance of lying, trying not to burn bridges, trying to say sorry, missing a bunch of stuff, and just this really kind of dysfunctional thing. I started seeing a therapist, and my therapist was like, "Oh, you actually don't. You're not an addict. You have a binge problem." And that's the worst thing that he could have told me because that kind of made me feel like I don't have a problem. Like my problem is just I need to learn how to like where to stop, right?
Don't you find Yeah, don't you find it's funny because I've gotta change the words that I use for myself as like a drug addict or whatever I am because like I definitely am an alcoholic. Like that's never been I can't question that. Like I always knew I was like, you're never gonna have one drink and be like, that's enough. Like I just know that even if I'm really happy, I'm like, I have one drink and I'm like, who wants to get fucked up? And so I will always be that way. But I'm learning like with drugs, it's not the same so much, but also I just like my body handles drugs differently. So it's not as easy for me to like start taking drugs and feel like, oh, I want to keep this going as with alcohol. But I've had that like even when I was an alcoholic. I mean, my family would say that to me that they're like, you're not an alcoholic, like you're just young, you're just in your 20s, so don't worry about it. But I was like, okay, I was getting in some pretty like high risk behavior, like including like things like drinking and driving when I was really young. So it's like, I think that like for me to call myself an alcoholic might be like a good thing, just to say like, okay, this is a problem. I shouldn't just like deny that this is something that affects me. Or even like if I say I'm a drug addict and sometimes I worry about like making people feel uncomfortable because I'm being like too open about it. But I'm always like, it's not that I have shame about it. It's just like I feel like I need to kind of be aware of like the words that I can use to say for myself so that I know myself and I know how to take care of myself and I know where I have some spots where I can struggle with that and saying that like, yeah, I have addiction issues, I'm an alcoholic for sure or whatever. So like how do you feel about like the words that you say for yourself or when other people try to tell you like what you are?
I've so fully embraced that I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. Those are not words that have any kind of negative connotation. They are just facts. Right?
Mhm.
My brain is different than other people. Some people can have a drink and know when to stop. Some people can have drugs and not let it fuck up their life. I'm not like that. My brain doesn't work that way. So I am very proudly an addict because being able to name it means that I can find a solution for it. Right. For as long as I tried calling it just a binging, just to this, just to that, it never worked. And to your point, like on alcohol or even pot, like pot has never led me to meth. Right? Because meth is
Yeah.
really like the most destructive of the drugs, but pot has never led me to meth. What pot did do though is how do I say this? When I would look at the substance rather than the encompassing kind of like mind altering substances, right? If I would just be like, oh well, hard alcohol is my problem, I'll just stick to beer and wine, or stimulants are my problem, so like no more coke but ketamine's okay, or mushrooms are okay, or pot's okay. And like when I tried doing all of those different rules, what I always found was that the problem wasn't in the moment itself. Like I can go out and have drinks and come back home. I can do that today. I'm not like, it's not going to lead to meth tonight. What's going to
Yeah.
happen though is that it's going to start planting the seed in my head that I have some form of control over my actions when I'm
Mhm.
under the influence of something. And that's the really dangerous thing. It's not smoking the joint. It's over time, I'm going to say, you know what? I do have some form of control over it. I can probably do meth and this time it'll be different and it won't be.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah,
Yeah, I have. I mean, I know that now. Like with drinking, like even like every time I quit. Well, the first time I quit drinking for 6 months or 100 days, whatever it was. I remember when I had my first drink, and I was like, because I just had a couple drinks with a friend, and I was like, oh, look at, I'm fine. I went home and like I had those 2 drinks, and I was fine. Maybe I got control over this. And I realized that it was only like a couple weeks after that that I got like completely shit faced and like got into a fight with my boyfriend in front of his friends, drank all of his friends' alcohol and like without asking and was just being like a total dick. And so like that morning after was like a big shame wake up call, be like, oh wow, like I feel like such a failure because I like didn't have a handle over this. And which I know I just didn't. The thing with me with pot is like like even in this year, the thing that I learned that I think has helped me is like to be able to say you're just cutting out drinking, just cut out alcohol because there'd be so many moments where I probably would have drank already if I didn't say like just smoke some weed. And like the thing with me is like I know I'm addicted to weed, but the effects of it are so minor that like I'm like if I'm going on like I mean I smoke weed all the time, but like if I was like I'm gonna smoke as much weed as I can all day and just get stoned all day, I'm like, okay, what is gonna happen? Like you'll go to bed early?
yeah,
You
yep,
won't do it like as much as I want to like push this drug, it like will not have a negative effect consequential enough. So it's like, okay, this is something that I'm like this is kind of my like cushion to fall back into if like things like it's helped me manage this. And right now being like, okay, this is better than what you were doing before. So I did group therapy with a bunch of other addicts and but they would always be like, do you want to be abstinent or do you want to practice harm reduction? And I was always like abstinent and not realizing that I was like, it's funny because I recognize that I'm doing harm reduction now by just taking out alcohol and being like, oh, this is harm reduction. I'm like taking out the worst drug for me and being like, hey, this is better than what it was. And so I'm like, I wish I would have known this before, because I feel like I have a hard time doing like all or nothing. Like I have to, even now where I'm like, just put it a year. Like I'm not even going to come back to the decision of like, do I ever want to have a drink again until I do a full year? But I'm like, I think I need to put these like realistic boundaries in my mind instead of being like, oh, you're not going to drink forever. I'm like, my brain it will very easily override that by like being like, well, forever. What is forever? You're never going to have a drink ever again? Of course you will. Like, it's just one, like, it's easy. Forever is like, does that make sense? Like, it's hard to
Yeah.
think, my brain to think forever, but like a year, or maybe then it becomes like, okay, I'm going to do another full year. And so it's like, okay, we'll just take it in one little block at a time.
So I also have trouble with all or nothing.
Yeah.
And in 8 years, what I can say is that I started out with recovery programs and like meetings that promoted like complete abstinence, but I wasn't ready to make that leap. And so I would hold on to like alcohol, but I would just let go of all the drugs, right? When it comes to pot, just in general, like my first boyfriend when I was 20, he moved from Quebec City to Montreal and we got an apartment together. But because we had a long distance relationship, I did not know that he was a pothead until we moved in together. And very quickly, smoking pot every single day with him, I went to Concordia, and for 2 semesters in a row, I took 4 courses. I dropped 2 after the drop deadline so that they showed on my record, and then I passed one with a D minus, and I failed one. So
Mm-hmm.
like twice in a row, I paid for 4 courses. I dropped 2. I passed one with the lowest grade possible, and I failed one. So after a year, Concordia was like, "Hey, we don't actually want you anymore."
And
And
this is
so
from because you were smoking pot?
well, just because I was smoking pot, I wasn't studying. I was used to like always being an honor student where like the like homework wasn't a thing that you actually had to do. And then in that relationship also it was like my boyfriend at the time, uh he moved to Montreal. He was having a hard time adjusting and he was working as a waiter and didn't like waitering anymore, so he just quit. And then all of a sudden this part-time job that I had to work full time so that I can like keep a roof over our heads. All this to say, after 1 year, the relationship ended, but I also had to like fight, like crawl my way back to Concordia and be like, hey, I was smoking a lot of pot and I was in an unhealthy relationship and like all that's gone now. And so since then, like pot was something that I did like 2, 3 times a year, right? It's never been this big daily drug for me. So in my 8 years, I did have times where I said, I'm gonna drink, but just not do the drugs. And then I had times where I said, I'm gonna stop everything. The one promise I made for myself in this 8 years was that I was going to do something different after every relapse. So if I had a relapse, I was going to make a change. I wasn't just going to like continue the same exact way of doing things. And so like I started out drinking and then I had a relapse. And so I cut the alcohol and then I had a relapse and then like change. And then I got scared. I got this idea that ever since I started recovery and identified as a drug addict, my relapses got worse because of the all or nothing thinking. So
And
where I used to,
can I ask you, all these times when you're like relapsing, is this with any support, like other people, or any type of like
yes,
AA
yeah,
or okay?
yeah. So the it's like 12-step fellowship programs.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So like you were still having support and figuring things out and felt okay about, or like when you're relapsing, at least you had like community
Yes,
and stuff.
yes, but every relapse like chips away a little bit at you, right? Where you're just like, oh, fuck, like it happened again. Like, am I ever going to get over it? And all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But I went from being someone who, like, before identifying as an addict, a binge for me would last about like 3 to 4 days, right? But when I identified as an addict and I tried to live a sober life, all of a sudden a binge would last 5 or 6 days. And it was because in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is the last one. Because obviously I'm never going to have another relapse again because I don't want another relapse. And so it
Mm.
scared me to the point that I left recovery and I left those programs altogether because I told myself that it was the rooms that were making, when I say the rooms, I mean like the recovery rooms, like those
Hmm.
were making me um, relapse harder than I ever did before. And so I left all of that and I said goodbye to it. And you know what happened? I still went further down that fucking rabbit hole. I became an IV drug user, right?
And
And
Do you think
Well,
that was because you didn't have like any accountability with the group after that?
that was because I'm a drug addict, and there's a part of, so this is going to sound a little bit morbid, but uh, it's not morbid. It's not morbid to me.
Yeah,
There's a
just
part of me that wants me dead. There's a that lives inside me that wants me dead, and that's the addict inside me. It's the part that wants me to not succeed in life, the part of me that encourages me to stay in bed all day and not do anything, and like, and I know that it's there. And my job is to kind of keep it in check, right? And what I've been trying to do over these past years was finding different ways that I can keep that in check. But there were a lot of times where I dropped the ball on it, right? So, like, when I first started doing drugs, like crystal meth specifically, when I would meet someone who was an IV, like intravenous drug user, I'd be like, absolutely not. That shit's disgusting. And then over time, it was okay, fine, but like you have to do it in the bathroom. And then it was okay, but you have to do it in bed, and I would turn away. And then I'm looking at them actually doing it, and then I'm like, here,
mm-hmm.
do it
Mm-hmm.
to me, right? Like there's this whole kind of desensitization where, in the same way that like when you first started drinking, it did not take much to get you drunk,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then you need more and more. Well, when it comes to certain drugs, like that more and more changes the way that you ingest them or that you take them. So
Mm-hmm.
all of that happened.
So can I just say it's the when you say the thing about like your addiction wants you dead or however you phrased it, like the way that I think about it, I never really thought about this till I was watching Couples Therapy. Do you know that show? Anyways, this show it's like a real therapist in real couple therapy sessions. Anyways, which there was an alcoholic on there, and he was talking about like how he would just get drunk and just like trash the house and all this stuff, and like the cops would have to come, and just like really high risk behavior when he would get drunk. And she said like she's mentioned like you're drinking to like kill yourself, and he was like, I don't think I'm doing that, and she's like, I wouldn't be so sure. And it was the first time that I thought I was never consciously being like, I'm gonna drink to die tonight, but I was like, I had no voice in my head that was like, hey, you gotta stop drinking, man, don't get in your car, or like, don't, like, you're blacked out, you should not be crossing this bridge, like, or whatever. Like there was no voice in my head that was gonna like say, hey, this can kill you. Like it was like go hard and keep going and don't give a fuck. And so I was like, I don't think I was consciously doing it, but I was like, there was definitely no voice in my head being like, whoa, you've had too much. Or being like, hey, don't do this. You're really drunk right now. And so it's like,
Yeah.
that's how I saw myself being like, whoa, I almost didn't care, or even just the drunk me didn't care, or however I want to think about it. But it was like, yeah, I was like drinking and doing drugs to like death almost. Like I'll keep doing this until I'm dead.
It was a therapist that I had actually who pointed out that, so I mean, for those of you who don't know, crystal meth in the gay community is very much tied into sex. And so when I was high on crystal meth, it's very much a social aspect. Like I was never high and alone doing the drugs unless I was like in between guys, right? But 2014 is also when prep, or like at least it's when I went on prep. And my therapist kind of pointed out that despite taking so many actions that made me closer to death, not like when I say like a binge would last 5, 6 days, I am not sleeping. I will sleep a total of maybe 3 hours in 5, 6 days, where it's like little cat naps here and there. I'm also not eating, with the exception of gummy bears and Gatorade. Like I'm pissing out like dark orange by the end of it. It is
Yeah.
the most destructive thing because I don't want to eat because I want to have sex, and also like the drug just takes away your ability. I'm like it takes your away your ability to sleep. I also know that like once I fall asleep, like when I get into a deep sleep, I don't wake up and want to continue the drug. So like I force myself to stay
Yeah.
up because I don't want to lose that feeling. But despite all of that, I never missed my prep. I still took my prep every single day. And I took my pills with me if I was out of the house and all of that. And my therapist was like, well, despite having these really self-destructive tendencies, there's a part of you that still wants to live because obviously you're taking your prep. Like you haven't completely given up on life. And that's where the kind of realization that there's a part of me that wants me dead came from, because not all of my actions were aligned in that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There was something I wanted to ask you when you were saying that, but I forgot what I was gonna say now. Oh, I was gonna say, so just curious then, before you started using meth for sex, because I want to kind of like go into like sex work and how doing sex work now as someone sober and coming from someone who loved sex on meth, that how has your relationship changed? Like, were you self-conscious and anxious about sex before you started doing meth? Like, did you have to go through a journey of like, wow, I got to figure out how to have sex without meth? And then how did you get into sex work and feel confident in being able to do it sober from coming from having sex on meth? Does that make sense?
Yes. So that relationship that ended in 2014 for me, what I didn't realize was that my partner had this kind of like big dick fetish where he
Okay.
just liked big. And then once he had big, he wanted bigger and it was never big enough. And so when I say that I took on problems and I made them my own and felt that I was no longer enough of someone who could like, I felt that I was not enough, right? Um, I kind of was I let myself believe that my dick wasn't big enough to make someone else happy.
Mm,
And so from 2014 to 2023 years, I would never hook up with a bottom on Grinder because I was convinced
mm,
that they would not be satisfied with me. Right.
mm-hmm. Sorry, can I
And
just ask you something? Because I think that a lot of guys, including myself when I was really young, would take some things guys just would say to me to heart, especially guys that I was dating about my body. That, like, because obviously, like, your dick size, you cannot pick your dick size, and it is not, has anything to do with, you can't choose it, you
no,
can't pick it. Oh, but was he saying things to you that was like, so directly like shaming you for your dick size, and were you actually taking that very personally and being like, wow, actually there is something wrong with my dick?
I think it was 3 months of the relationship. He cheated on me, and I caught him, and so we broke up for a month, and then he got back. We got back together, and he was like, like I'll never make that mistake again. And then a few months later, he cheated on me again, and this time he was like, well, this is the thing. Like I'm into guys with bigger dicks than what you have, and you just don't have it, and so it's a compatibility thing. So if you want to be with me in a relationship, we have to be open, and otherwise it's not going to work. And so I like, and I'm just gonna like, my boyfriend is not a bad man, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just the way we were introduced a year before we started dating through a mutual friend, and we went on 2 or 3 dates, and then decided to be friends. And so for 1 year, we stayed friends. Where I was very clearly in love with him, and then a year later, he was like, "Hey, I think I'm going to marry you one day." And so we started our relationship in love, right? When I say it's a relationship that never should have happened, it's had we not been friends for a year, we would have gone on a few dates and it would have just fizzled out because we wouldn't have been compatible. But because we were in love and love was the most important thing, we
Mhm.
stayed together to make it work. Right. And that's my I chose to stay in that relationship for 4 years. So I just want to make sure, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
if you're watching this, Mr. X or other friends, whatever, like I'm not shitting on you. I'm just kind of acknowledging what the situation was. So
But like my point in saying that too is like, I mean, it's yeah, it's obviously not good to shame your partner or whatever, but like for me too, that I was like, I was taking these things to heart, and instead of being like, wait a minute, do I want to be with a guy that just likes my body for the way it is or likes me for the way that I am? I was like, okay, well, how can I change to make sure that this one guy likes me? Instead of like in that moment, I wish I could say to myself, like, you don't need to like this is something you can't change about yourself. I wish that I could have said to myself, it's the guy's going to break up with you anyways, you know? And I
yeah,
think a
but I
lot of
mean,
us are
we don't know that. Like when you're in it, it's so easy from the outside or in hindsight to like realize things. But when you're in it, like you don't. I did not see things that way. And so
mhm.
when it comes to my relationship with sex, it was a relatively healthy relationship with sex that became unhealthy because I started having a lot more self confidence issues or just for a very long time, I was using sex as like a numbing agent, right? To like suppress feelings the same way that I did with food. And then when I was having sex, it was often because I was going out and then I was drinking and doing drugs and coming home. And like, so I did have sober sex. I had like a lot of sober sex. But once meth came around, I had picked up on the fact that I no longer was interested in sober sex. I was just interested in guys who had meth on them. And that transformed into not having a libido like if I wasn't high anymore because the idea of having sex without drugs was just not interesting anymore. And so like in the same way that I became a binge drug user, I was also a binge like sex haver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't like my casual sex was very much like intertwined with my meth binges at that point. Then over the past 8 years, anytime I was doing a good amount of like recovery and I was accumulating clean time, I wasn't having sex. In my journals, I would write a lot of I need to and I have to. I need to develop a better sober sex. I have to go out, but I just the interest wasn't there. Like it's a really strong link that doesn't just disappear naturally. Once you stop the meth, you don't just all of a sudden become interested in casual sex. At least not for me, right? So
Hmm.
there was a lot of work there. Meth absolutely destroyed my life where I had a condo and then I sold that condo and I burned through all that money. I had really good jobs and then I had to go on sick leaves and I changed those jobs and then I would get fired from a job or like I was meth stopped like prevented me from I was no longer a reliable person. I was no longer someone you can count on. I was no longer someone who was dependable, whether it was an employee, as a friend, as a lover, any of it. Like it had took all of that away because one binge is a week of staying up, a week of sleeping, and a week of being a zombie until I can feel normal again. Right? You do
Hmm.
that a few times a year. It's 3 weeks gone.
Yeah.
And so I went through these
Did you have?
big dip.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry?
I was gonna say, did you have to take a break from sex then to stay away from meth?
That happened automatically. There was no sex without the meth. Right? And I would try and have sex, like I had sex a handful of times without the meth, and all of it was just kind of it was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Hmm.
great. Huge depressive, like I would just have a lot of depressive episodes. And in 2023, the thing that changed, and 2023 is also the year that I got into sex work. At the beginning of 2023, I went back to school to start a master's program. I'd realized that I hated the corporate world, but that is what I was very much in. And I started a master's in counseling psychology to become a psychotherapist. And when I started that program, I had this renewed sense of purpose and this renewed sense of self esteem that I had lost, that I had not felt. And that brought my libido back. And even though in 2023 I was not sober, I also wasn't doing meth. So at that
Hmm.
point, I was drinking. I was doing a lot of like gummies, like edibles, like weed gummies and mushrooms, but I wasn't doing anything else. I like at that point, I was like, okay, no stimulants, but the mushrooms, the weed gummies, and the alcohol is fine, right? And the first 6 months of 2023 went by amazing because I was working full time. Things were great at work. I was studying to be like my master's at a 4.0 GPA. Like
Hmm.
things were fucking going well until I had two friends doing like a goodbye party. They were moving to France. And that's where I saw all of the old crew of people I used to hang out with and do drugs with recreationally. And there was Coke. And I was like, I have a handle on things. I'm such a different person now because obviously life's going well. So I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
Coke that night and then I did meth that night and I didn't come home for a week.
Hmm.
It was in that binge that I also made the plunge because for those past years, like I was, even though I had like good jobs and good credit, I was just drowning in debt. And so I knew I needed more money, and that's when I made the decision on a whim while high to say, you know what, I'm going to start sex work. And so I created the profile, but I didn't touch it. I just created the
So it was
profile.
in that when
What?
would you call that a relapse? It was in that
Yeah,
time that
yeah.
you just sex work just out of nowhere came to you, and you were like, oh, maybe this is what I should do instead, or
I had hired an escort while I was high, and it's someone that I'd seen before. And
yeah,
the idea of being an escort was always a fantasy for me. I was always like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
like I think it could be like in my head it's hot, right? Like it's like you're getting paid to do something. The reality is very different, but in my head that's what it was. And so I kind of just said, you know what, fine, I'll create the profile. And then after that relapse, I became rebellious because I was so upset with myself that I got high again, right? Because of that, I had to drop out of school. Because of that, I remember talking to my therapist and saying, maybe I'm not designed, maybe like my purpose is not to live my life in the daylight. Maybe I'm supposed to live in the shadows. I think that's exactly what I said to him because I've tried, and like it's clearly not working. Like maybe I'm just not meant to live outside with normal people.
Hmm.
And so I kind of allowed myself to devolve back into drugs. The first 6 months before that relapse, with my newfound sense of purpose in school, my libido came back and I seized that fucking opportunity. And so I started having sex. Like when I would go out with people, yeah, I was drinking and stuff, but like I still had like I I had become successful in unlinking sex and hard drugs, right?
Hmm.
Where now I was able to have really fun sex. And I went from bottoming a lot because I was afraid to top to topping and then getting a lot of positive feedback from the guys I would fuck.
Hmm.
And then eventually, when I did start escorting, I would do it. Sometimes I would do it high, sometimes I would do it sober, but both times I got a lot of repeat clients. I got clients who would always come back to me. And that was just like the final cherry on the cake to be like, if I have people who are coming to me for sex and they're paying and like, there was never a problem with me.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And no, but it's just that's the thing that really allowed me to like cement the idea that it was all in my head this whole time and that like there was nothing wrong for me with me. Like maybe I'm not everyone's physical profile. Like I get it. I'm not everyone's and not everyone is mine, right? So I don't take that personally anymore.
It's funny you say that because like I've thought about because like I do sex work too, and even the somatic sex work, it's like same stuff. I just sometimes maybe like am helping guys specifically with some issues. But I always think I'm like, I know that these guys, I mean, they come to me because like I have intimacy to offer, but it's also because they come to like us because they are attracted to us or there's something about us that makes them feel safe. And they like us. Like it's it's not a like job where you're just gonna they're just gonna find some random guy. They have to like you. And so one things that I look at is like they have to like you in the way that they feel safe, that they feel comfortable with you to be intimate. But that I've always like looked at that as like if I thought of like the way that I feel, I don't know what to call it, regular people, or if I just fit like with friends and all that, like the gay community that are just friends and those types of relationships, I'm like I feel like I don't do that well. But then when I think about my work, I'm like I do well in like I have really great connections with these guys and like I really care about them. I have enjoyable experiences with them. I know that like I'm helping them and supporting them and that feels awesome or I'm just giving them pleasure and that feels great. So I'm like my work, the sex work part of it actually makes me feel a lot better about myself than
Oh,
like the regular gay community, if that makes sense.
yeah. So I'll say two things. When it comes to what people are looking for companionship services, right? You have some people who are looking for physical attributes only, right? They're looking for the biggest dick, or they're looking for this, or they're looking for
Mhm.
specific, But the way that I have branded myself is based on what I know I can deliver on, and that is real human connection. And if someone is looking for the biggest dick, they're not going to come to me, and that's fine, right? Like it's not
Yeah, yeah.
like I can't promise that, but when I have people who are, they're feeling a little lost or they're feeling like there's something missing in their lives, even if they don't exactly know what it is, it's the comment that I get the most, or like is that something about me drew them to me
Mm.
or drew me to them, where no, drew them to me,
Yeah.
where they felt that I'd be able to help out with whatever it was. I had one client that I saw quite regularly for the past year. Like we just kind of ended our relationship where he started off with some really big struggles, right? And through that year, he went from being terrified to do anything on his own to starting to, hobby hunting, trying to find different activities that he can do on his own, like line dancing and different things. And I I I'm so fucking proud of him that he was able to finally like find a therapist and get into therapy because he was doing a lot of like astrology and different things. I've been seeing a therapist pretty much like for the past, my God, since I was 19, 20, like the past 20 years, I can
Yeah.
say I've been seeing a therapist regularly, different therapists, different times. Therapists absolutely helped me get in better touch with myself and everything. Those are the ones who I seem to attract, and those are the guys who I love helping. And leaving the corporate world where I'm helping a financial institution, like the thing that I was really good at was operational efficiency and like process improvement, right?
Yeah.
I loved that work, but I hated the consequences because I always had to find ways to make things more efficient, and I always had to find ways to like cut people. right? And like fire them and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. This work, all of a sudden, like maybe I'm not helping like a wider amount of people, or like a bigger amount of people at once, but like when I get someone just being like, "Oh my God, like thank you so much. Like you really were able to provide something that I hadn't felt in years." You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes me feel like I'm doing something important. And I know that it's a
Mm-hmm.
hugely controversial topic for a lot of people, and that's cool. You can feel it's like that belongs to you.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't know if it's controversial. I just think maybe people don't understand that sex work looks like that. Like I had a conversation with my friend and she's training to be a psychotherapist, and we were talking about how like the difference between maybe a therapist and a sex worker is like obviously the boundaries are way different of what you do, but like what is even the therapist doing? The therapist is using themselves, their body, to be able to empathize and be there and be a support for you. So like all of these things are like connected. And I think like if there wasn't if there wasn't sex workers, there would be like I thought about this the other day was like I feel like sex workers are like silently holding society up because I think about but no seriously, I think about a lot of men especially who struggle with loneliness and intimacy that like hey, there is this option there for you instead of like suffering through with like trying to get someone in your life to see you or to touch you. There are sex workers there that are usually not faking it. Like, I always get clients too that will be like, when I say, wow, that was really hot or that felt really good, and they'll be like, oh, you're just saying that because you have to. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm
No,
really
yeah,
not. Because if it was like bad, I would have probably have been like, hey, can we slow down? I would have said things to be like, try to make it better. So it's like, no, when I say I really like that, it's because I did really like that. And I'm like, but I think a lot of sex workers are just really good at their jobs and being able to be with another human and connect with them.
yeah. I mean, it's all. Not all sex workers are good sex workers, and I love those
Well, yeah,
ones.
totally.
I love those ones because then when someone falls on me, they're like, "Oh my God, you answered so quickly. Oh, you actually showed up. Oh, like
Hmm.
to all the terrible sex workers, keep it up, please, thank you."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, but yeah, I think it's all about knowing what you can offer and letting, in my case, I let my intuition guide me. Like I'll never ask for photos or anything, but I'm big on communication. So when I'm chatting with someone new, texting, I try and get a feel for what the person's looking for. And if I can deliver on that, then I do. But just going back to sex and drugs and like sober sex, all of that, I really started like it in 2024, I started in January with like an outpatient rehab. I tried going to inpatient and I didn't qualify for the free inpatient rehab because I was not close enough to death. To qualify for rehab inpatient, I needed to not be able to make it more than a day without using, and that wasn't my case. And so I very angrily was like, "You're telling a drug addict that I need to do more drugs if I want to get into your program." Like, I'm just so we're clear. They're like,
Hmm.
"Well, you shouldn't look at it like that." Anyway, so I started the
Yeah, yeah.
outpatient program, but 2024, from May 1st all the way to February of 2025, like I had 9.5 months clean, right? And
Hmm.
in those 9.5 months, I went from having 6 figures of debts, to paying down like 25% of that, to completely changing my life, to finding like this new sense of purpose with the sex work, to like making the decision to say I'm getting out of the corporate world and to make the leap, to find a way to like connect with myself and also choose faith over fear. Not faith in a religious sense, but for a very long time, I would make fear based decisions, which meant that I'm not going to do this because the risk is too big. Whereas now I am going to do this because I'm going to be okay and I'll get through it no matter what happens. And I have this amazing life now that I would not have had without stopping the drugs and alcohol. So
Hmm.
today, it's easy for me to like, I'm here talking to you today because I'm sober. Like I would not have this conversation with you if I wasn't sober. Like my friends that I like at end of 2023 when I was at my lowest, the friends that I had were also the same friends that I had to take my wallet with me when I went to go piss because I wouldn't want them to steal from me. Well, no,
Yeah, yeah.
because like when you become an IV drug user and you're living in the bathhouse, right? And
Mhm.
the only people that are going to stay with you are the other IV drug users, right?
Mhm.
Like shit gets real scary real fast,
Mhm.
um, and I live my life in the daylight right now. I have a handle on my debts. I have a future. I'm building like I'm so proud of myself, but like it's easier for me now to say fuck the drugs and alcohol because in 2024 a sponsor said that in life you can have drugs and alcohol or literally everything else, and you don't know just how infinite literally everything else is. And I got
Mhm.
to spend most of 2024, all of 2024 from May onwards realizing that.
Mhm.
No, but it's just
Yeah, yeah. Well,
sorry.
no.
No, but I'm just laughing here.
Well, it is very sweet. But what you're saying about the quote or what your sponsor said,
Yeah.
I think I heard a very similar quote this year that it was giving up the substance. Oh, when you or what it's when you give up the substance to what you give up everything for the substance, but when you give up the substance, you get everything in return. And it's
Yeah.
like
And
because
it's
even
not,
yeah, yeah. But I was like, that was the thing that I had to learn too, is that I was like, whoa, the things that I like, I'm not gonna get anything that I actually want if I keep drinking. And like that voice was really loud in my head for like in the last summer when I quit drinking. And I was just like, this is like you can't hide away from this truth that, this is actually keeping you from everything that you actually want. And the thing about it is, like, I love drinking. Like, I still like. There's lots of times I'm like, I wish I could just go to a pub and go get drunk with a bunch of people. I love that, but it takes so much away from me that I was like, you can't deny the fact that this is actually like taking a lot of energy and time out of your life and like meaning and connections with people that you're complaining about. Like, I'm lonely, and it's like, well, this is actually kind of getting in the way of like helping with that.
yeah. So, I mean, two things. When I first, like back in 2018, when I first got into recovery, without realizing it, it left a huge void in me because once I realized that the drugs and alcohol were killing me, and then I had to stop the drugs and alcohol, which meant that I had to stop frequenting the places that had drugs and alcohol, like, I, I, I parted ways with a lot of friends, like really good friends that were like super solid in my 20s that I still love today. Like they're still amazing people. Like we didn't have any kind of falling out. But once I stepped away from the drugs and alcohol, we didn't have much in common anymore because
Hmm.
so much of my life was in like surrounded by we're going to bars, we're going to clubs, we're doing all these events. And so for years I would question like who am I, right? I never really took the time to like get into different hobbies and interests because I had my friends, we've been traveling, like I had a full life that all of a sudden was shaken up by the removal of drugs and alcohol, and I didn't know how to replace that, so I felt very lost. So on top of, I think, trying to live life without drugs and alcohol, I also like, what do I do? Like all of a sudden I went from really fun nights out and wild stories to grabbing a coffee with friends. And it was
Hmm.
fun, but there's a huge transition period that like really feels uncomfortable. And I don't think enough people talk about that, where like I loved my old life. I knew that it was no longer good for me and I had to say goodbye to it, but I still missed it. And that's what ended up like that fueled so many relapses for me because I would always get tired of like the moment I had like 2 months of clean time, I'd be like, you know what, let me call up so and so, we'll go out to the bar. I'm not gonna drink, but and it took a few years for me to kind of figure that stuff out. And today I have a very fulfilling life, but it wasn't easy. And when it comes to the going out and whatnot today, I know that not everyone is like, for some people, they're super fine with it. The non-alcoholic beers and the mocktails, like I love a good Virgin Caesar. I love a good zero beer because um, I get to hold a drink in my hand that isn't just a glass of water or like a glass of like a Diet Coke or something. I get to feel like there isn't years ago, before all of these non-alcoholic beverages like became popular, going out to a social event with friends, if we were at like a dinner and they all had glasses of wine and I just had my can of Coke, I felt like I would stick out like a sore thumb. Like I was
Mm.
very aware that I was different. And I don't feel that
Yeah, yeah.
anymore. I don't go out that much anymore, but when I do, I'm very. In September, I went to Europe, and that was my first trip going as a recovering addict
Sober?
who,
Yep.
yeah, sober. And here in Montreal, typically the times that I've gone out, 1 o'clock hits, I'm like, I'm ready for bed. And in Spain, I was closing the fucking like outdoor beach club at 3 in the morning, dancing my ass off with a Red Bull and a whole bunch of Coke, Zero, and
Yeah.
and those zero alcohol beers, right? But like, just um, I did not expect to stay up that late, but it's in me. It's just I never had that kind of drive before. But today, not doing the drugs or the alcohol, like, has I haven't stripped something away from my life. The drugs and alcohol used to be fun for like, but it's been years since they were fun, right?
Hmm.
Like they're not fun anymore. When I do drugs and alcohol today, it's not it's not fun anymore. And
Yeah.
I know that. So
Yeah.
like the idea of going back to it is just not enticing for
Hmm.
now.
Well, especially
Sorry, I just want to
yes.
say one other thing, looping back to the all or nothing thinking. My goal is not to stop doing drugs and alcohol for the rest of my life. My goal is to stop doing drugs and alcohol today. And when I get up tomorrow, I make the same commitment. Because it's a lot easier for me to digest if I just say, just for today, I'm not going to do the drugs. Maybe I'm going to have a craving. If I still have it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. But then when I wake up tomorrow, like I get to remake that same commitment. And so like me getting to 360 days
Mm.
clean is 360 just for today's.
Yeah. And you must be feeling really proud and happy this week. Like you must every day must when you're waking up because it's your 1 year anniversary, right? You must be feeling a lot of positive feelings. Or are
Yeah,
you?
no, um when I was talking about all the different things that I do for work and stuff, 2 weeks ago, I also started a barber apprenticeship program, which is a 4.5 month intensive full time program Monday to Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm so proud. Like, it's because I'm clean that I get to do that program and I'm going to get to complete it because there won't be a relapse that's going to like remove like 3 weeks to a month out of it. It's a 4 month program. Like, one relapse, I'm out of the
Mm.
program. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is, when it comes to celebrations, like when you belong to like a 12 step group. There's a celebration where like on the yearly anniversaries, you have to bring in a cake and also like friends and family can come celebrate with you. And so I've seen through the years, different people's friends and family come and celebrate with them, but that never happened for me. And a
Mm-hmm.
few days ago, I got to like reach out to some friends and family and say like, hey, on the 25th, because my clean date is on the 20th, but I'm going to pick up my cake on the 25th. Um, I'm like, hey, like on the 25th, I'm gonna be a year clean, and I'd love it if you came. And like, it's finally happened to me. It's like like the like forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. Like I feel like the bride.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's
That's
just
very sweet.
like it's just I'm gonna be able to like do it, and it's just it feels amazing. I'm super happy where my life is right now. It's very very imperfect, but it's so much better than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah. You should be very proud of yourself. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you're like me, but like one of the things that I find about just being an addict is that the moments where I'm like, well, I'm really happy and I'm not drunk. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's such a huge accomplishment. And like, I think sometimes even when I look at other people who don't have to deal with this stuff, like I used to always be like, this really sucks. But sometimes I'm like, the fact that like just being content is a feeling that is like so precious and I value it and I'm so grateful just to feel like okay in my body without being drunk is like I wish more people would understand that I think this is the goal of what we're all trying to get to feeling like, but unless you have something really big that takes you away from that and you have to like force yourself almost to like find that feeling, I don't think people get how wonderful it feels just to feel okay as yourself, right? If that makes sense.
It's scary. It's scary for a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
people. Not everyone's ready to make the plunge and look inward and sit with themselves. I, for
Yeah.
one, was part of that club for a very long time, right? Where
Mhm.
every waking moment, I always had the TV going or music or something. Like, I never wanted to be alone with my thoughts because my thoughts were dangerous and I hated them. And so I would
Mhm.
drown them out. And today, like I love myself. A few years ago, I was not able to say that.
Mhm.
Which is
Mhm.
a funny story. Like, I went to go see a tarot card reader, and
Mhm.
as I was like answering his questions, at one point he's like, "Do you love yourself?" And very quickly and naturally, I was able to say no. And he's like,
Okay.
"Well, I hope one day that changes." And it's funny because I ran into him today,
Okay.
and I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember this, but I came like a few years ago and this, and you asked me this question, and I very casually and quickly kind of answered no. And I do love myself now today." And he's like, "Wow." He's like, "Thank you so much for that." And like, so it's just super random that, yeah, it's funny, but
Yeah. So it was,
unfortunately,
I see that as a moment. I don't know if you see it this way, but I see that as a moment as that stuck in your mind of like not loving yourself at one point, that you would bump into this guy where you had a moment where you were like, I don't love myself. And to bump into this guy on the week that you're 1 year sober and to be
yeah.
like, oh my God, I love myself is like, I look, those are the moments that I'm like, is that coincidence or is that there to remind you of like how far you've come or whatever, right? So I want to slowly start to wrap it up. So I do this like little lightning round of 3 questions. You don't have to answer the questions really fast, but they're just going to be 3 short questions. So ready for that? Okay. All right. So first question: what kind of connection do you crave these days?
Ooh, intimate. Do you want me to elaborate on the questions or?
Yeah, you can if you want.
Um, So intimate because I think a lot of what I do has a performance component to it. And it's really made me miss soft, slow, intimate moments. And so these days, that's kind of what, if I am kind of craving a type of moment, it's to really have like a nice passionate like slow burn where it's not this like raw looking in the mirror and all that stuff, or like, but just
Yeah.
no, but it's just like, yeah.
I know. I love that type of intimacy too. Okay. How do you know when you're feeling aligned in your body or your life?
I know how do I know when I'm feeling aligned?
Like I would say, do you feel aligned? It sounds like you feel aligned right now in your life.
Yeah, I mean, not everything is linear and not everything moves at the same direction, right? So for the majority of the parts of me, the components that make me who I am, they're all moving really well. Some of them struggle a little bit more than others, but generally things are moving well. I know that there's a big problem though. Like, it's easier for me to flip that question and talk about when can I recognize that something is off.
Yeah.
I call it prelapsing. I haven't trademarked it yet, but basically it's the group of behaviors that I start showing that show me that like I'm in dangerous territory. And so when I start isolating myself, when I start canceling things, but most importantly, when I start getting very, very frustrated or when I start going off on people, because I don't do that anymore. So when I start losing my shit and like I can't bite my tongue anymore and I can't look at the and I'm just like, no. Like I become like passive aggressive or I just become like really irate or angry. I know that
Yeah.
I'm going through something because um I'm losing a sense of like my emotional regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like,
I have that if I don't sleep well and have no patience, but I always have to check in and be like, what is the reason why I'm have no patience and feel really grouchy? And sometimes it is just like, oh, you just didn't sleep well last night. You'll feel better tomorrow. But it's funny. I asked the same when I asked this question to the last guy. He said the same thing about how I know when I'm not feeling aligned. Like even for me about like drinking, like it's not that I'm not aligned in my life when I was drinking, but like I'm definitely way more in alignment of where I feel like I should be when I'm not drinking. And that's like a big one for me to be like, are you
well,
in this?
I
Yeah.
think it's easier for us, like when I'm feeling good and happy and having a great day, it's easy for me to feel aligned. Today is a great day for me. It's really easy for me to say that I feel aligned. I think it's a sign that I'm aligned is that when I'm having a more difficult day, I reach out to people and I let them know and I talk it out. So on days that I'm maybe not doing that well, I can still feel aligned because I think it's important to separate this notion of like feeling happy with feeling aligned. I can go through a tough thing or have a bad day, but be able to be honest about it with myself and maybe with other people and that is me being aligned because I'm recognizing my feelings and I'm not suppressing them. So rather than just say like, well, yeah, when life is good, I'm feeling aligned. No, like when I'm delivered bad news, I'll give you here.
Mm.
Do you know what this is? This is from I don't know if it's too blurry. It's the Canada Border it's the Canada Border Services Agency.
Okay. Okay.
In 2025, I was an actor in a erotica gore short movie for a Quebec director.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And the film is like 11 short order films from directors around the world with the focus on the anus. And it's a very,
Okay.
very gore, erotica graph. It's not porn, but it's like really, really intense, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was an actor in that. I went to Quebec City last year and I filmed it. And then finally, all the directors got their stuff together. The movie was ready. And so I bought a copy and it got intercepted by the CSBA for being obscene. And this means that now they're currently reviewing it to see if it falls into artistic categories where they can like send it to me, or if it falls into obscene materials that goes against some Canadian law we have. Either way, for the next 5 to 7 years, I'm going to be at a much higher risk of getting stopped at whatever border I'm at to have my data searched. So like if I have a laptop with me, they're going to want
Yeah.
to see the contents of it for the next 5 to 7 years. That's a really
Because how were you trying to, what did you buy it or what was the format this movie was
DVD.
in?
I bought the DVD,
A
but
DVD? And so they watched it? Or was like the cover of it or something was crazy? Or how
so
did they
this is
know that it was crazy?
listen, I what I'm assuming is that whatever publisher, whoever was sending the mail out must have been flagged. And so they probably intercepted all the stuff that was coming from
Yeah.
that expediter, right? Um, However that was done is out of my control. There was nothing I was able to control, right? But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went through a thing where I was like upset at the director where I'm like, why did you do this knowing that the Canadian laws make it so that it's like, this is like a hot topic. Like now I'm
Yeah.
flagged.
Yeah.
Like I want to start up a porn studio. I'm going to have to travel a lot more like next year. And like the same time that I'm going to start traveling more, I'm now at more risk for like my laptop being searched and stuff like that. Not that I have anything
Mm,
obscene on it, but it's just like, I don't have a criminal record and I liked not having
yeah.
a criminal record. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
The added
getting
annoyance.
that bad news pissed me the fuck off. Right. I'm still very much aligned in my
Yeah.
mind and my body though, because I was able to like acknowledge like, yeah, you know what? It's really fucking shitty news. It sucks, but I'm going to talk to someone about it. I'm going to speak to people about it and I'm going to accept that it's just a thing that happened. I can't control it. I'm not going to stay angry about it. I'm just going to continue with my life. Right. So like, you're not aligned and like mind and body only when things are good. It's also how you handle the bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same as me as like, I think when I was just drinking, my nervous system was all fucked all the time. So like something like that would put me in a stress mode for like 3 days. Whereas like when I'm not drinking, I'm like, I need an hour to freak out about it and lose my shit. And then I'm like, oh, I'm calmed down and I can think about it like realistically and be like, it's not as bad as you think it is. It's okay. And so, yes, I find that really helps. Okay,
Sorry,
so
what
last
was the third
question.
question? Yeah.
Yeah. What makes you feel turned on by life right now? And that can be like a piece of music, it could be a TV show, it could be a person, it could be a crush, whatever, whatever you mind.
So the first thing that came to mind when you said, when you asked the question is my future, like the potential,
Aw.
like, no, but
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, it's very cute.
sorry, but no, but when you say the Oz, like this, I think there's like memes or whatever, where it's just like, it sounds so like superficial, like, aw. Anyway, I know it's not the case, but
Yeah, yeah.
But so when I say my potential, it's just like I'm doing barber school. I'm starting the porn studio where like things are kind of moving in this really fun direction. For a very long time, I was always living in the present, but now I'm actually able to make decisions or actions or like changes for the future me. And that's
Yeah.
really exciting. When it comes to music, the song, I'm just looking it up. The song that I have on repeat right now is Hold Somebody by Teo Amo, which is like this really fun, upbeat kind of thing. I also started the year off. I I've had the same playlists that I would just add music to for the past like 5 years. But I decided for 2026 to like start a brand new playlist with brand new music. So
Yeah.
I've made a decision not to listen to any of the stuff that I would listen to previously. And so I'm like discovering a whole bunch of new music, which I find really interesting.
Cool. Well, I'm really proud of you, and congratulations on your 1 year sobriety. And thanks for coming on and talking about all this stuff.
My pleasure. It was great. It was great working with you back in Toronto,
Yeah,
and it was
yes. It
great
was
working
really
with you
great.
today.
Yeah. Well, it's also great. I mean, I think doing this work or being like working as an OnlyFans model or sex work and stuff,
And
it's
just for
really
fans.
yeah. Yes, and just for fans.
Yes.
I'm on just for fans, but I haven't posted anything on just for fans. I'm so like I need to keep things minimal because I'm like it's funny some of these creators I'm like they post on Reddit and all these other things too and I'm like oh my god that's so much stuff that you have to post every day. Anyways, but my point what I was going to say it's like just how you said there's bad sex workers. There's some really like amazing guys who are very open with their struggles and what's going on in their life that like are part of these communities that I think there needs to be more of those people. Because I also think that even in sex work and porn and stuff, we're all just still gay men. And I don't really see much difference between us and like the guys who have the corporate jobs, right? I think we're all still struggling with the same stuff. And so it's nice to hear people that are like open about it and it just like is what it is. Cause I think more people could be talking about this, right?
Yeah, I think some of it comes with age. Like I would not have given you the answers that I gave today 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Like I'm 40
And
now.
10 years from now, you might give different answers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Hmm.
No, but it's just there's a lot of
Hmm.
perspective and a lot of experience that kind of shapes us, right? Like
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
not have the experiences that I had 10 years ago. So it absolutely has an influence.